My wife died unexpectedly in a car accident. While I was sorting through her belongings, I found her wish bottle. The bottle was filled with origami stars of various colors, but each star did not contain my wife's wishes. Instead, they held records of every time I had made her sad. I opened the topmost star, which contained my wife's final words. ECI, let's get a divorce. I'll return your freedom, and please return me to the sea of people. Not long after writing this, my wife died in a car accident. This wish bottle was actually a gift from me to my wife. When my wife and I first got together, I was just a poor, penniless guy. But I promised her that I would help her fulfill every wish in the bottle in the future. My wife said that she wanted to work hard with me to achieve everything she wanted, so the wish bottle was always empty. She accompanied me through hard work, and now that we can finally live a good life, she's gone. To commemorate my wife, I poured out all the stars from the bottle and opened and read each one from beginning to end. ECI, you big pig, actually complained about the lunch I made and gave my hangover soup to another woman. This happened 6 months ago when she came to the company to bring me lunch. At that time, Lin Ling, the representative of the other company negotiating cooperation with me, saw the sumptuous lunch my wife had prepared for me on the table and couldn't help but admire it. President he, your housekeeper's cooking is better than my chef's. I want a freeload at your house. My wife always dressed casually when she came to the company, and I thought she must have misunderstood. So I took the initiative to explain, Miss Lin, this is my wife Xn Yuan. Hearing my introduction, a trace of nervousness flashed in Lin Ling's eyes, and she quickly smiled and apologized. Sorry, so you're the wife. It was just a harmless misunderstanding, but I didn't expect my wife to make a big deal out of it. She gave a fake smile and ordered, Assistant Lin, pour me a cup of coffee. Lin Ling's face changed slightly, and she glanced at me. I was also a little dazed. My wife's insight shouldn't be so low that she couldn't tell that Lin Ling wasn't my assistant. Lin Ling seemed unwilling to embarrass me and smiled generously. Okay, wife. How could I really let the representative of the cooperating company pour coffee? I quickly took the cup from her hand and called the real assistant in. Xin Yuan, this is the representative of our company's cooperation, not my assistant. My wife pretended to realize, oh, the representative of the cooperating party. I thought she was a new intern. Anyone with eyes could see that my wife was satirizing the other party for not knowing the rules. Lin Ling naturally knew this and could only find an excuse to leave awkwardly. I was a little annoyed that my wife had offended my client because of someone else's unintentional mistake. But I couldn't say it directly because my wife would be unhappy. I could only beat around the bush. Xin Yuan, you don't have to bring me lunch anymore. On the one hand, my wife only knew how to make a few dishes, and I was tired of eating them every day. On the other hand, I was worried that she would run into Lin Ling again, which would affect my work. Xin Yuan narrowed her eyes dangerously. What? Are you tired of my cooking? Only then did I realize that I had carefully considered my words, but I had still said the wrong thing. I quickly hugged her and explained, Of course not. I just don't want to see you working so hard, and the company's restaurant is pretty good too. Xin Yuan's expression eased a little. That's more like it, but you better listen to me. Stay away from that woman just now. I think there's something wrong with her. I thought my wife was overthinking things, but on the surface, I agreed. Okay, I'll listen to you. Good, my husband. Xin Yuan stood on tiptoe and kissed me on the cheek. After Xin Yuan left, I took the initiative to apologize to Lin Ling, hoping she wouldn't take my wife's words to heart, lest it affect the cooperation project between the two companies. Lin Ling said it was okay. She was the one who said the wrong thing first. Compared to my wife's petty behavior, her generosity and propriety really made me feel like a spring breeze. In the evening, we continued discussing the collaboration project and drank a lot of alcohol. When my wife found out, she ordered express delivery to send me a bowl of hangover soup that she had personally cooked. As soon as I opened the hangover soup, the aroma immediately attracted Lin Ling next to me. Her eyes lit up, and she said enviously, Your sister-in-law's cooking is really good. This hangover soup must be delicious. Seeing her slightly drunk appearance, and also to make up for my wife's mistake in the morning, I let her drink that bowl of hangover soup. Afterward, my wife called me and asked if I felt better after drinking it. I knew she and Lin Ling didn't get along, so I didn't tell the truth, only saying that I felt much better after drinking it. But when I went back and handed her the bowl, she noticed the lipstick mark on the rim. Under her questioning, I could only tell the truth. She immediately smashed the bowl into pieces, questioning why I would give what she cooked to another woman. I explained that Lin Ling was the only woman there at the time, and she was quite drunk and kept staring at my hangover soup. I was embarrassed not to give it to her. She then said that I could have ordered a portion of hangover soup from the hotel for everyone else, so why did I have to take the bowl she made to be so considerate to another woman? At that time, I had just finished socializing and returned home, both physically and mentally exhausted, and had no energy to coax her. I only left the sentence, "I'm tired, I want to sleep, let's talk about it tomorrow," and then went to take a shower. But from that day on, no matter how drunk I was, I never drank the hangover soup she made again. Moreover, she seemed to become paranoid and always liked to call and check on me, leaving me with no freedom. But I still didn't realize my mistake and still felt that it was because she was spoiled too much by me that she didn't understand how hard I worked outside. My wife and I met in college. At that time, she was the campus belle and a dance major. Her outstanding appearance and perfect figure made countless men fall at her feet. Among them were many wealthy second generations and handsome guys with superior looks. At that time, I had ordinary looks and a normal family background, and I really didn't have anything to show off. When I decided to pursue her, even my roommate said that I was a toad trying to eat swan meat. I was also full of enthusiasm at the time. Regardless of whether I would succeed or not, I showered her with all kinds of affection and delivered her breakfast on time every day for a whole year. While others were laughing at me for being a simp, a year later, she agreed to go on a date with me, and we successfully became a couple. After being together, I also regarded her as a goddess and unconditionally indulged her every request. After graduation, in addition to working hard outside, I would also take the initiative to take over all the housework when I came back, and I never let her enter the kitchen. Later, I became successful in my career, proved myself, and also let her quit her job and stay at home to enjoy life. However, after she became a full-time housewife, she had a lot of free time, while I was often too busy to take a break from working outside. This meant that I couldn't be there for her as much as before, taking care of her meticulously. She also always liked to lose her temper with me, which sometimes caused me trouble. But I always believed that these were just tests that life gave us, and we would definitely overcome them together. And we would love each other more and more. But the things that happened later were a bit out of control. Opening the second pentagram, it read, "Wedding anniversary. I worked hard to cook a big table of dishes, but my husband was with another woman." Xian Yuan is an extremely romantic person, and I remember any important date of hers. But that day, there was really a reason. I'd already bought the gift and planned to leave work early to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But Lin Ling, who had just been enthusiastically explaining the project, suddenly turned pale at the end and wailed while clutching her stomach. I learned that she had stomach cramps and had to be taken to the hospital immediately. As the person in charge of this project, if I were absent now, I would definitely be criticized by the company. Moreover, Lin Ling is very capable at work, but she doesn't put on airs and is very approachable. I had become friends with her during our interactions, and I couldn't bear to leave her. I could only bite the bullet and take her to the hospital, and then do a series of examinations. By the time I left the hospital, it was much darker. When I got home, I saw my wife sitting on the sofa. The candlelight dinner on the table had gone cold, and even the candles were almost burned out. Having learned from the last time, I didn't hide anything about Lin Ling this time. I sincerely squatted down and calmly explained the whole process to her. She was surprisingly calm. "Okay, I understand." I hugged her and sincerely apologized. "Honey, I'm so sorry. Your birthday is in a few days, and I promise I'll make it up to you." "Okay, you must be tired. I'll heat up the food, and we can continue eating." "No, I'll do it." I rolled up my sleeves heated up the steak, and made a few more dishes. But I could feel her low mood. I guess the joy of waiting had long been worn away. I could only pin my hopes on her birthday in a few days and prepare a super big surprise to cheer her up. But I'm a straight man, and she always complains about the gifts I give her being ugly. I haven't given her anything she's been satisfied with. Lin Ling found out that the last time I took her to the hospital, we missed our wedding anniversary, so she prepared a gift. She wanted me to give it to my wife as an apology. She sent a delicately designed luxury bracelet. I remembered seeing this bracelet on my wife's phone before. I thought she should like it, but I couldn't accept such an expensive gift from Lin Ling. So I suggested giving her the money, as if I bought the gift for my wife. But Lin Ling felt that she couldn't live with her conscience. I thought her taste was good, so I asked her to help me choose a romantic restaurant, so she wouldn't feel so guilty. Lin Ling gladly agreed, and carefully helped me choose a few hotels with good reviews and ambience, and even gave me some clothing advice. I shared those hotels with my wife, and my wife picked one and praised my taste had improved, which made me very happy. I shamelessly accepted it. On her birthday, my wife dressed up like a fairy, just like the first time I saw her in college, beautiful and breathtaking. I also wore a custom-made high-end suit and had dinner with her in the restaurant we had booked. The restaurant was located by the sea, and the cool sea breeze brushed our faces. The afterglow of the setting sun sprinkled golden flecks on the blue sea, creating a shimmering effect. The melodious sound of violins rang around us, melodious and moving. Everything was so romantic, and she loved it, and she praised me. I took out the gift and handed it to her. My wife's eyes lit up, and she covered her mouth and took the gift in surprise. Although she blamed me for spending money indiscriminately, she couldn't help but leaned on my shoulder and acted coquettishly. "Honey, you are so good to me." I was enjoying this happy atmosphere, but when my wife took out the gift, her face stiffened, because she was holding a gift receipt with Lin Ling's name on it. Then the waiter pushed out the cake and told us that this was a birthday cake from Lin Ling to my wife. My wife was furious and questioned me about what was going on. I had no choice but to tell her all the causes and consequences and emphasize that Lin Ling did all this to apologize for her last behavior. My wife stood up angrily and glared at me. "Hisai, if you can't choose a gift, you don't have to choose one. If you can't choose a hotel, you don't have to choose one. Why do you need someone else to do it for you? Or are you two so close that you can share all kinds of privacy with each other? My work is very busy. Although Lin Ling helped with these things, I put a lot of thought into them. In the end, I was met with a scolding and suspicion, and I lost my patience and had a big fight with her. In the end, we were all exhausted. I sat helplessly in the chair. Can you stop making trouble? Lin Ling and I have a normal colleague relationship. Company matters have made me overwhelmed. I have to try my best to make you happy. Can't you understand me?" She looked at me, stunned for a few seconds, and suddenly her eyes turned red. "You think I'm being unreasonable, right?" I didn't answer, but the silence completely angered her, causing her to leave in big strides. Looking back now, I really want to slap myself in the face. That was her last birthday, but it was still spent in argument. If I had taken a step back and actively admitted my mistake at that time, maybe I could have left her with a happy memory of her last birthday. The window was not closed, and a gust of cold wind blew in. I shivered all over, and when I looked back, my wife was standing at the door. Tears welled in my eyes, and I was about to embrace her when I heard her speak first. "Don't touch my sister's things. Get her dirty hands off." Her icy words made me realize she wasn't my wife, but her twin sister, Shinfu. Shinfu glared at me, trying to snatch the origami stars from my arms. I quickly bent down, shielding them like a hawk protecting its chicks. "These are my wife's keepsakes. You can't take them." She sneered, "Wife? Did you ever really treat her like a wife? Besides, my sister had already decided to divorce you. If you hadn't stubbornly refused, she would have had nothing to do with you long ago." I seemed to be jolted by some kind of stimulus and muttered to myself like a madman. No, she wouldn't divorce me. She only said that in a fit of pique. She loved me so much. How could she divorce me? Stop deceiving yourself. You made it so my sister couldn't even go home, and you were still fooling around with other women. How could you expect her to love you? Shinfu glared at me resentfully. I was speechless, but still stubbornly guarded the origami stars. They were the last keepsakes Xian Yuan left me, the words she wanted to say to me. I would die before I let anyone take them. Stop pretending to be so affectionate. Let go. Shinfu kicked me a few times as if to vent her anger, and punched me hard several times. Blood streamed from the corners of my mouth and nose, but I didn't budge, didn't make a sound, just silently guarded the origami stars. Finally, Shinfu had no choice but to give me a cold glare. If you really love my sister that much, you should go down and be with her. She's already dead. What good is it to hold on to those little notes she wrote? After saying that, Shinfu could only leave with her sister's other belongings. The moment the door closed, my heart fell to the bottom, because I had indeed done something unforgivable. Just as Shinfu said, I had twice made it impossible for Xian Yuan to go home. The first time was when her parents disapproved of our relationship, forbidding her from being with me. My family background was ordinary, even poor, and my appearance was unremarkable. I didn't even rank in the top 100 of those who pursued Xian Yuan. But Xian Yuan came from a good family. She could sing and dance, and was a well-known beauty. Her parents couldn't bear to see their daughter, a beautiful flower, stuck in a pile of dung, and threatened to sever ties with Xian Yuan if she continued to be with me. At that time, Xian Yuan and I were deeply in love, and she would rather go against her parents' wishes than be with me forever. Later, her parents really blocked all of Xian Yuan's contact methods. She didn't say anything in front of me, but I often heard her having nightmares in the middle of the night, crying and calling out for her parents. I knew she longed for the love of her parents and family and really wanted to go back, but she didn't want to put pressure on me, so she usually kept it to herself. Later, I made some achievements on my own and finally had a chance to show my face in front of my wife's parents. After seeing that I was a reliable person, my wife's parents were willing to give us a chance to break the ice. We agreed to have dinner together at a restaurant. My wife was very excited to hear the news, because she hadn't spoken to or eaten with her parents for many years. The night before, she was so happy that she couldn't sleep and got up early to get ready, saying she wanted to dress nicely so she wouldn't embarrass me, and so her parents would know she was doing well. Seeing her so happy, I was also very happy for her, because she had really suffered too much for me. Although her parents and several brothers didn't like me, even looked down on me, I decided to put aside my past grievances and greet them with a smile, thinking that she would be happy. And there was another happy event that day, which was that Lin Ling and I had finalized a project we were working on together, and we held a celebration banquet at noon. In order to stay sober, I only had a few drinks, but I felt strangely dizzy and passed out on the table. When I woke up, I was sleeping in a large bed in a hotel, and there was a note on the table. It was left by Lin Ling, saying that I was drunk, and she helped me to this hotel, and there was hangover soup on the bedside table. I looked at the time, and it was already 3 hours past the time we were supposed to have dinner. There were countless missed calls and messages on my phone. I had a bad feeling and rushed over immediately. The reserved private room was empty. Xian Yuan sat there, her eyes red and swollen, clearly having just cried. I want to hug her, but she pushed me away. I told you a long time ago to pay attention to the time and come earlier. Where did you go? Xian Yuan stared at me coldly. I said earnestly, I only had a few drinks at noon. I didn't expect the alcohol to be so strong. It made me sleep until now. Who did you sleep with? Xian Yuan continued to press. I felt a little guilty. I was alone. At this moment, Xian Yuan threw a pile of photos at me. The photos showed Lin Ling helping me into the hotel, a snapshot of Lin Ling and me kissing from a misleading angle, and Lin Ling leaving the hotel with disheveled clothes. Seeing these, I immediately explained everything that had happened. Those photos are all about the angle. Lin Ling and I didn't do anything. Xian Yuan sneered. Are you pretending to be stupid, or are you taking me for one? If it weren't for your permission and indulgence, how could she appear by your side again and again? I stared wide-eyed and continued to argue. XN Yuan, don't slander me. She and I only have a working relationship. XIN Yuan was so angry that she laughed, her tone full of sarcasm. A working relationship that allows her to help you to the hotel. A working relationship that allows her to give you tens of thousands of dollars worth of bracelets. A working relationship that allows her to drink your hangover soup. If you have this kind of working relationship with everyone in the company, is the company really a company or your harem? My face changed slightly. I wanted to refute her several times, but I found that no matter what I said, it sounded like an excuse. To be honest, I don't want to bother with your nonsense, but you also know that today's matter is very important to me. It concerns whether I can go home again. XIN Yuan took a deep breath. The corners of her eyes reddened, choking up several times. It's been 7 years. I haven't had a meal or said a word to my parents. Who is it for? Just this one day, one meal. Couldn't you be on time for me? And you have to use another woman to disgust me. ECI, do you have any conscience? I was speechless and could only lower my head and accept her anger. In this pile of origami stars, I also found this event. ECI, you made me lose the chance to go home for the second time. From here, my relationship with my wife became worse and worse. Almost every day, several things would happen that would make her sad. Every time we met, we would argue, arguing until we were both exhausted and on the verge of collapse. I became less tolerant, and her temper became worse and worse. Later, I even became so angry that my face turned red, and I waved my arms. My wife's eyes filled with mist. She stiffened her neck and moved closer to me, her voice desperate and cold. Hit me. Hit me if you have the guts. In the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it and left home to drink with friends. When I came back again, I realized she had moved out. Only then did I realize that she was really angry. So I planned to stage a sob story in front of her to get her forgiveness. I filled the house with wine bottles, messed up my hair, drank a few bottles of wine, and pretended to be drowning my sorrows in alcohol. I knew she would come to get her things today, but I didn't expect Lin Ling to come first. She hugged me and apologized to me, saying that it was because of her that my wife and I had become like this. I instinctively wanted to push her away, but she held me very tightly. XIN Yuan appeared at the door at this moment, watching the two of us struggling. But her eyes were dim and lifeless, and her face was full of calm indifference, as if she were looking at strangers. Just as she was about to turn around and leave, Lin Ling grabbed her hand and said sincerely, Miss XIN, it's all my fault. I didn't expect that I would cause you to become like this. It has nothing to do with President He. Please don't blame him. XIN Yuan's face was livid. She wanted to shake off Lin Ling's hand, but the other party held on tightly. Let go of me. I don't want to see any of you again. I hope you won't appear in front of me again. XIN Yuan's eyes were empty, and her voice was cold and piercing. Lin Ling choked up and said, You really misunderstood. ECI has never liked me. It's just that I admire President He. Can you give ECI another chance? XIN Yuan's face became more and more ugly. In the end, she threw her hand away violently. Lin Ling was thrown onto the shoe cabinet at the door, and her head hit the corner, causing her to bleed. I helped Lin Ling up and accused her. XIN Yuan, you've gone too far. This is all between us. Why are you hurting innocent people? XIN Yuan's eyes were full of fatigue. In the next second, she met my eyes and curled her lips into a cold sneer. ECI, whether she is innocent or not, you know best in your heart why we have become like this. I was stunned in place, speechless. Looking at her leaving figure, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. I wanted to chase after her, but Lin Ling, who was bleeding, was blocking the door. I could only tell myself that what XIN Yuan said was just angry words. She had taken care of herself for the past 7 years, and she couldn't live without me at all. I even thought in a somewhat evil way that her parents and family didn't want her anymore. She only had me left. Only I was her family. She couldn't divorce me. Thinking this way, I felt a strange sense of confidence again. I took Lin Ling back to the room and applied medicine to her wound. During the process of applying the medicine, we were very close. She tried to throw herself into my arms, but I stopped her. I was thinking about Xine Yuan and didn't have the mood for it. Moreover, I had never really thought about betraying Xine Yuan. I just wanted to enjoy the ambiguity. I felt that as long as I didn't have a physical affair, it wouldn't count as cheating. Later, Lin Ling left my house reluctantly. I was still thinking of letting Xine Yuan calm down alone. After she figured things out, she would automatically come back. After all, where else could she find a man who was so wholeheartedly good to her like me? She was just spoiled and arrogant. That's why she didn't give me any freedom. I spent 3 days in this self-deceiving state. Instead of Xine Yuan's return, I received her divorce agreement. At that moment, I completely panicked. I realized that Xine Yuan really didn't want me anymore, that she wanted to erase our past completely. I refused to sign and went to her with flowers to beg for forgiveness, but she refused to see me. She wouldn't even give me a chance to meet. So I started kneeling in front of her door, kneeling for a whole night. The next morning, she finally opened the door. I thought she was moved by me and was going to forgive me, but she still looked cold. Let's leave each other with some dignity. Do you have to make it end in hatred? I hugged her legs, begging humbly, Yuan, I don't want a divorce. I know I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please give me another chance. Think carefully. Haven't I given you enough chances? Her voice was full of coldness. Emotions accumulate. They don't happen overnight. It was me challenging her bottom line again and again that made her constantly accumulate disappointment and finally choose to leave. I understand the reasoning, but I just don't want her to leave me. I can only act like a child, being unreasonable. Just give me one last chance, okay? We've been together for so many years. Can you just let it go? You were the one who let go first. My love is limited, and you've used it all up, Xine Yuan's face tightened. Let's break up peacefully. At least we can leave each other with a good impression. Don't make me feel like the past years were all terrible, okay? After speaking, she pushed me away and closed the door. Later, unable to bear my harassment, she directly told the doorman not to let me in anymore. I couldn't even enter her community. Later, I couldn't even see her. I began to give up on myself again, drinking heavily with friends in bars every day, drinking high-proof liquor like it was water. I drank until I had a stomach perforation and was sent to the hospital, still shouting her name. My friend couldn't stand it anymore and called her. She said that they had the wrong person, that Lin Ling was my lover, not her. I was completely desperate, knowing that the mistakes I had made could never be made up for. I was late to sign the divorce agreement. Xine Yuan's lawyer finally decided to sue me, saying that Xine Yuan was prepared to go to court for a divorce or to separate for 2 years. In those days, I was like a walking corpse, living without a soul. But I knew that all of this was my own fault. No matter how many reasons I used to gloss over my crimes, no matter how many excuses I used to rationalize my behavior, deceiving myself to the point where I even fooled myself, I couldn't hide my cheating and betrayal. Wrong is wrong, and adults must pay for their mistakes. In the end, I decided to leave most of my property to Xine Yuan to make up for my mistakes. But at this time, Lin Ling came to my door. She advised me to think it over, that the property was all I had worked hard for. Why give so much to Xine Yuan? She didn't understand that all this property was earned for Xine Yuan, and now that she was leaving, and I had betrayed her. To make up for it, I certainly had to give most of the property to her. But Lin Ling's face changed, and she immediately became emotional, forbidding me from doing so. I smiled and asked, Miss Lin, what right do you have to control my property distribution? Lin Ling's eyes widened slightly. Don't you have any feelings for me? I said coldly, I don't seem to have ever promised you anything. If I have done anything to make you misunderstand, I apologize to you. A fierce look flashed in Lin Ling's eyes. So you dare to play me? I was silent. She could think whatever she wanted. Lin Ling, have never been insulted like this before. I have remembered everything you have done today, and one day I will take revenge and make you suffer 100 times more than me. Lin Ling glared, her face full of ruthlessness. Her terrifying appearance that day still makes me shudder when I think about it now. The phone rang. pulling me back from my thoughts. It was the auto repair shop. They said the black box from Xin Yuan's car had been repaired. I immediately retrieved it and played the video footage. Unexpectedly, Lin Ling had contacted Xin Yuan on the day of the accident. In the underground garage of Xin Yuan's apartment complex, the two seemed to have exchanged words, ending in discord. The next second, something suddenly dawned on me. The cause of Xin Yuan's death was brake failure while driving, ultimately crashing into the guardrail and drowning in the river. But the car was brand new. How could the brakes have failed? I suddenly felt a chill, my blood running cold. Recalling Lin Ling's bloodthirsty expression, I felt that she was somehow involved. But the black box could only capture video in front of the car, not the sides, so it couldn't prove if someone tampered with Xin Yuan's brakes at that time. I rushed to the garage of Xin Yuan's apartment complex to investigate the surveillance footage from that day. It had conveniently been damaged. Could there really be such a coincidence? According to the black box video, there was a row of cars in front of Xin Yuan's. Since this was an apartment complex, those cars should have designated parking spots. Some of them might have dash cams. I asked the parking lot security guard, who confirmed that the drivers of those cars were indeed residents. So I waited there, waiting for the owners of those cars to come home from work. As luck would have it, I finally found footage of Lin Ling talking to Xin Yuan from the dash cam of one of the cars. Moreover, while the two were talking, someone slipped under Xin Yuan's car. Lin Ling was distracting Xin Yuan while the person under the car tampered with her brakes. With this video as evidence, it was certain that Lin Ling had caused Xin Yuan's death. That vicious woman had used Lin Ling to get revenge on me. A bloodthirsty look flashed in my eyes. I clenched my fists tightly, my whole body enveloped in a bone-chilling cold. Anyone who hurt Xin Yuan would pay a bloody price. To avenge Xin Yuan, I tricked Lin Ling into coming to my house. In the basement, I had set up a black and white mourning hall specifically for Xin Yuan, with her photo placed on the table at the front. Lin Ling was knocked unconscious after entering the house. When she woke up, the first thing she saw was Xin Yuan's photo, and she was immediately startled. I glared at her coldly. You know fear now? Didn't you think about this day when you killed her? Lin Ling was terrified and trembled, shaking her head repeatedly. I don't know what you're talking about. Xin Yuan's death was an accident. It had nothing to do with me. Seeing that she was still denying it, I played the video evidence for her. Her eyes widened slightly, and she immediately tried to grab it. I quickly took the phone away. Don't bother wasting your energy. Did you think I wouldn't back up the video? Seeing that it was useless to grab it, Lin Ling's face turned cold, and her eyes became fierce. Where did you get this? My face darkened. Did you think that by damaging the surveillance in the underground garage, you could be foolproof? You forgot that there was a row of cars opposite Xin Yuan's car. As long as one of those cars had a dash cam, it would record your crime. Lin Ling's face turned pale, as if regretting that she hadn't destroyed all the evidence. What do you want? Lin Ling glared at me. Kneel down and kowtow to Xin Yuan, I said, narrowing my eyes dangerously, wanting to kill the woman in front of me. But Lin Ling stared straight at me. Don't even think about it. You're the one who really killed her, not me. If you hadn't played with me, leading me on when you didn't like me, I wouldn't have killed her to get revenge on you. How does it feel? Now you know the pain of losing a loved one, right? Lin Ling laughed like a madwoman, sounding particularly eerie and chilling in the gloomy basement. I then realized that this woman was simply insane. I was the one who had wronged her, so why was she taking it out on Xin Yuan? My eyes flashed with malice. I took out a whip with barbs and lashed it hard at Lin Ling. When I pulled back the whip, a strip of flesh had been torn from Lin Ling's body. Lin Ling's face turned white, and she fell to the ground, the smile on her face finally disappearing. She clutched her bleeding wound, glaring at me viciously. You're a lunatic. Let me out. Seeing that she was still disobedient, I lashed her face again, her face immediately covered in blood, unrecognizable. She let out a shrill scream, trembling in pain, but unfortunately no one outside could hear the sound from inside. She wanted to rush over and resist, but after being whipped a few more times, she finally became obedient. She curled up in a corner, trembling, her eyes full of fear. I reiterated, kowtow 3 times to Xian Yuan and apologize. After I finished speaking, Lin Ling didn't dare to disobey and knelt down obediently, kowtowed 3 times, and then apologized under my pressure. I looked at Xian Yuan's photo, tears welling up in my eyes. Xian Yuan, Xian Yuan, I will never be able to repay what I owe you in this lifetime. I knocked Lin Ling unconscious again and sealed off the entire basement. There was no water or food inside, and no matter how much she shouted, no one outside could hear. I handed the company over to professional managers, transferring half of all my shares to my parents and half to Xian Yuan's parents. I hope to provide for them in their old age. And I, taking Xian Yuan's wish bottle, jumped off the bridge where she had the accident on a quiet night. The cold river water engulfed me, rushing into my mouth and nose, suffocating my breath. I felt Xian Yuan's pain at the time, my heart aching, utterly heartbroken. I quickly lost consciousness, my vision blackening, returning to a state of chaos. But my hand was still tightly holding Xian Yuan's wish bottle, hoping that in the next life I could be a beast of burden and repay the debts I owe in this life. When Lin Ling was finally discovered, she had already starved to death in the basement. The walls were covered with scratch marks from her bloodied hands. She was skin and bones from hunger, and the wounds from the whip had not healed and were constantly festering. They were crawling with all kinds of flesh-eating insects. Her death was extremely tragic.